I was at Children's Hospital with my mother. I was like 2 probably. And this is a like, I remember this. And we were in the hospital gift shop, and I asked my mom if I could have a Tootsie Roll, and she said no. And I then kind of like looked around and was like, I think I can just take this. Yeah. And so I took it. And then when we got outside the store, I was like, look, Mom, I was just able to take it. And my mom was horrified and outraged. And I should say, right, like, we were at Children's Hospital. So, like, you know, other stuff going on. But I so fundamentally didn't understand that what I had done was wrong, right? That I very immediately, like, look, you can just take things from the store.
Probably a little proud of it.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Did you know about this?
Yeah.
And I was devastated.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was very clear that I had done something deeply wrong. And, like, not just, like, wrong. Like, it's not like, oh, I made a mistake, like I did something bad. Right. But, like I had wounded Children's Hospital. Listeners, if you remember Tootsie Rolls, and if you can think of the size of a hand of a 2-year-old, we're talking a piece of candy that at its most probably has ever cost a nickel. Yeah. So I remember the face of the person being like, it's okay. All right. My sister makes fun of me all the time. Because she went to a bunch of concerts in her early 20s. She has some hearing loss. And so she's always like, I can't hear you. Speak louder. I'm like, sorry.
One of my favorite little mini pranks to play is you're having a conversation with someone and the train goes by, and I just, you know, everything becomes inaudible, but I just keep... And then $2 million later, she said, you know, I pick up the story once we can hear again in a totally different place, just to...
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember now if you have a $2 million story.
Nice. Welcome to FlawedCast. We have a real treat tonight. You know, I start every one of these talking about a struggle or a failure of my own. Our guest is live and in person tonight, which has not been the case. I feel that it's due to my lack of clarity and communication. She feels... Do you want to say how you feel about it?
I mean, I think it's probably lack of my detailed reading of calendar invites and or a combination thereof. But as maybe a theme for me in this podcast, I'd like to think of this instead of a mistake, that this is a delightful discovery, an opportunity that was made.
Yes.
A happy accident, if you will.
As so many mistakes turn out to be.
Exactly.
I find. Yeah.
Penicillin.
Yeah. Beautiful. I helped give penicillin to a goat yesterday, and a baby goat, and that was a real nice moment for me. Well, you've already heard the voice, folks. My guest tonight is a dear friend, fantastic writer, director, leader, artist, awesome friend, Nora Long.
Thanks, pal.
So glad to see you.
So glad to see you.
It really is nice to be in person.
More conversations should be in person.
Yeah. So I've been kind of setting the bar or getting a sense of the room by asking people, when you hear the word failure or when you think of struggles, what does that mean to you?
I think my definition of failure has evolved as my definition of success has evolved. I think when I was starting out in the world, failure was something that other people bestowed upon you, that because you didn't make the grade, what you did was bad. You know, you weren't sort of measuring up. And recently, you know, in a geological sense, recently, 10 years ago, maybe. What is time? I've started to think about success in a different way. And so therefore I think also failure in a different way, or have attempted to, I guess. Yeah. All things easier said than done, but that I get to set my own terms for success and therefore my own terms for failure. When do I feel like I haven't made the grade? When do I feel like I haven't lived up either to my promise, to my goals, to my intentions? Like how good do I feel about the environment that I created in a rehearsal room, for example? How did I deal with a difficult situation? Do I feel good about that resolution? Or, did I really blow it on that one? And I'm going to use that experience to do better in the next time. Yeah. So I think I've even tried to like redefine failure as, as a learning opportunity. I think there's a little bit of a notion about failure that there are clear, defined boundaries around doing well, doing poorly. Yeah. That something's either amazing or terrible, and neither the twain shall meet. Yeah. There's just very few things that I've ever experienced that way.
Sure. What was it you said, roughly 10 years ago is when that kind of started to shift? Can you recognize what helped lead to that?
Yeah, well, I think, like when I was starting out as an artist, I had a very clear idea about what I wanted to do. Yeah. And also was sort of terrified about trying to do it because I had no idea. Like I had no idea how you directed plays. And so I even sort of like hesitated to say out loud, like, I want to be a director. I wanted to work on staff at a theater. I wanted to do casting. I wanted to do literary management. I wanted to work in the artistic department of a theater in the city of my birth, like the town that I love and grew up in. And so there was a real sense of like destination. Yeah. Once I got the job at the Lyric, I had a couple of years of being really happy there, but I then also had like a real, I don't want to say like identity crisis, but like I felt really lost for a while because I wasn't sure what the next step was. I had wanted to do that thing for so long and I was finally doing it. And there was a very clear next step in everyone else's mind. You get this job and then you do that job. But I wasn't sure that was what I wanted. So I think that sense of like the misalignment of the path I was on versus my desires. And then I think working at the Lyric and going to grad school also at the American Repertory Theater. So being in the room with just, some really monumental artists that I deeply admired their work for years and years and years. I had always felt that there would be an arrival, right? There would become a point where I would know what I was doing.
Right.
And then I would like be it, right? I would know what being a director was. Yeah. And be able to do it all the time. Yeah. And I would sit in rooms with people with several decades on me and realize like, oh, nobody knows what they're doing.
Right.
Like, there is no arrival. And particularly because theater really thrives on a kind of freelance environment. And so, like, your working is really defined by your drive to work, your artistic inspiration, the amount that you can get work. There's no sense ever of making it.
Right.
And talking to people who I would define as having made it, as being established artists. When you talk to a lot of them, they do not talk that way about themselves. Right. They have that same level of anxiety. Is this going to be my last show ever? Am I ever going to get hired again? After being abjectly terrifying. and throwing me into a deep spiral of many, poor decisions and depressions, was really helpful in kind of shaping a new way of thinking and approaching the work.
Awesome. I like what you said too about kind of the difference between internal and external. I feel like I am still impacted by those signals from outside myself, but most of the time it's an internal sense, and it's usually like, do they think that I botched this? Are we okay? What can I do to fix this thing that I've invented that I've done wrong?
Did I ruin everything?
Right.
Have I ruined art?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not to say that I don't also get external markers, right, of criticism, but it's, I think when you have a clear sense of yourself and sort of your own kind of artistic goals, it allows you to approach other people's responses to your work less thirstily. I mean, I do feel very strongly theater is a thing in which you're asking people for their most precious resource, their time. And so I do like to make things that I feel are going to be worth people's times.
Sure.
I want people to have a good time at the shows that I'm making. But I also know, like, the work that I do isn't for everyone. And I have zero expectations that 100% of the people who see anything that I do are going to be like, nailed it, genius. But the other thing is, like, I am crueler to myself than anyone else will ever be. My internal voice, we joke, that our self-talk are HR violations. Like, if we said half of what we said to ourselves to anyone else, we would be fired and shunned, and like, it's which I would say, like, is another sort of piece of that, like, failure struggle dialogue, is like, how do I create work and stay in dialogue with myself in a way that is, like, kind and recognizing of my humanity.
Yeah. Do you have any practice for doing that?
I mean, sometimes I at the risk of sounding schizophrenic, like, I do sort of think of that self in a sort of third person way.
Yeah.
Like, if I realize that my self-talk is like, it's something that I wouldn't say to a friend.
Yeah.
I try to I don't know, like, coach myself down, or literally picture that I am talking to a friend, right? And that helps me be a little gentler.
There was a piece in the New York Times yesterday, I want to say, that was about Erling Haaland and
the delightful Norwegian giant.
Yeah, Viking man. But it was about his psychological preparation for his career, and I won't go into the woods on it, but, like, the upshot was, studies basically say that if you talk to yourself in third person, it has a tremendous psychological impact on you, good or bad, right? For instance, in an athlete's case, if an athlete says to themselves, "You're not tired," they can go, like, 20% longer than they could if they didn't say that to themselves. And it has a greater impact if you say it in third person than if you say, "I'm not tired."
Yeah. That's interesting.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to start practicing that more. I want to tell myself I'm not tired. Or, no, you are not tired.
I really, I don't know if you know that show on Apple TV, Physical. It's ostensibly about like the kind of rise of the aerobics movement in the 80s, and also this sort of woman's, you know, experience in it, and also as a with a eating disorder. And it's the first time that I've ever seen a show really dramatize that kind of self-talk.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes you watch a television show, you see a play, you read a book, and you're like, whoa. But I can recognize that I have said many of these things actually to myself, and I have to I gotta sit down with that, because I understand the function here is that what she is doing is not okay.
Nice. Tell me about the last time that you feel like you failed, the most recent. Or most recent.
Coming to your house notwithstanding.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, gosh, there's so many. There's so many times. Well, you know, I was just working on this show in Maine, which, you know, a dream show. You know, it was really hot. It's outdoors, and not just like outdoors, but like within an unair conditioned, you know, barn, like on a working family farm.
Yeah.
And I'm a New England girl. I'm a Boston girl, born and bred. And I remember that when you went to northern New England in the summer, it was cold.
Right.
And in fact, I worked at this theater 10 years ago, and I had to have a winter coat for some rehearsals, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
And Maine declared a state of emergency. It was so hot. And my ability to like think clearly, a lot of directing, I think, especially when you're a woman, but also I think in part because of the way that I work, there's a lot of emotional management, right? Helping other people sort of do their best work. You know, I think if you're an auteur, right, you can just yell at people and they're scared of you. And but women don't often get to be that. But right, like my patience was thinner, my processing was slow, and because of the sort of ever compression of the timetable, the sort of usual ways that I might help insulate some other people's anxieties or stress or, you know, we just didn't have time for. You just had to like do the thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, like a lot of the reason that I make theater, because it's both about wanting to put a worldview out into the world. It's to put a radical social justice, feminist-led agenda into the world, into our storytelling in a fun way, so that it's like, you know, sneaking the vegetables and the brownies, like, is not just about like what the audience sees, but it's also about the whole process. And while I feel really good about what I was able to do during most of the rehearsal process, those last couple of days, you know, I was not at my best. I don't think it's going to stop being hot. And I don't think, you know, time is going to stop being such a precious resource that we don't have enough of. So, like, what are some strategies that I can build for myself to make sure that I'm working in the way that I want to work? And it's also part of the advantage of, like, working in a medium where really you're carving time. You're carving experience. Like, what are the things that I need to keep in mind about how an audience is going to experience work? Right. I just saw the show in front of an audience for the first time last night. You know, seeing like, okay, if, for example, you're taking a very well-known property and looking at it in a new way, how do you help guide the audience more concretely, how do you give the audience a little more purchase and permission? Because you are not only in dialogue with their experience with the show that you're doing, but like their entire history of the experience of the medium. And so how can I be better about making people come in and feel like I'm going to see something weird. I'm going to see something different, maybe. And whatever I think about it, however I feel about it, is okay.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not dumb because I didn't get it. And whatever my thought is about it is the right thought.
Yeah.
And I get to respond either in the moment or afterwards as I choose.
Yeah.
And so it was funny with the audience last night in the first act. I mean, in it, you know, a rural New England, almost entirely white audience, right?
Just for people listening, this is Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain, right?
Yeah.
A lot of polite applause, right? You know, particularly at the dance breaks. And then they came back from intermission. And this theater, the owner's wife makes pie that they sell at intermission, you know? So like maybe the sugar boost from the pie came back at intermission, and when the actors would talk to them, they would talk back and they would clap. You know, there was a lot more of that sense. So, but right, also it was only one audience, right? So I don't have a responsible sampling. Yeah.
That's such a tricky line to walk. The story it makes me think of is I wrote a vampire opera, the libretto for a vampire opera, and it was an opera, a German opera from, I want to say 1828. It's not performed a whole lot, and we really redid the libretto and the story to modernize it. And so it being a vampire narrative brought in lots of references to contemporary vampire stories, Buffy and Twilight and things like that. And being me, it was also very cheeky and very silly in some places, very funny. And multiple performances at intermission, some members of the audience chose to scold other members of the audience for laughing too much, for vocally enjoying themselves, because they had come to listen to the music.
Yeah.
And it was definitely my first big experience with that of, oh, there are people who are bringing this experience and this expectation of, I'm going to an opera, I want to hear the music.
Yeah.
Versus other audiences just meeting the work on its own level and appreciating it in terms of what it wanted to be.
Yeah.
And those being head-butting differences.
Yeah.
I can imagine, I don't know what your take on Singing in the Rain is, but I can imagine if you're, you know, it's an American classic, if you're veering much away from what people know and love about it in a rural Maine barn theater.
Yeah.
that it's there's a negotiation going on some level. Yeah.
You know, for me, I think especially what I think is exciting about live theater is the working with the audience.
Yeah.
Which is also tough because the way a lot of rehearsal schedules now land, you don't get that time, like with those first couple of audiences, to still give notes, to still rehearse even. I want to create an experience that requires those people in the room, because I think theater that is not sort of essentially taking advantage of the parts of the medium that are unique to it, just it feels like low rent TV, and then why is anyone leaving their house for that?
Right.
The work that I am most excited by is the work that engages me as a audience member, that my experience of the work is essential to the work itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Changing tack a little bit, what is something that you feel like you've struggled with for a considerable part of your life and you just can't nail it? You can pick one.
Alphabetically or chronologically? In order of importance? There's a lot of things like big and small. I don't want to say it's a thing that like I can't quite get, but I would define it as a work in progress. Is that inner critic that I have for most of my life wrestled with like a really deep self-loathing that I like try to keep cheeky and light for friends and family because it's a real bummer. But is sort of always there in a real potent, problematic, and like what can be like wholly arresting kind of way. Sometimes it's just the like having the presence of mind to say like, is this helpful to anyone else right now?
Yeah.
Like, is you knocking yourself around, does that help anyone else right now? Which, like, generally not. And so, like, that has been my best, like, kind of technique to kind of get out of it. Yeah. Also, many years of therapy. I've, been on some medication for a year. Like, all of that stuff certainly helps. But I don't know. I'm not, I am not, how to say? I am not foolish enough to think like such a foe has been completely vanquished, forever. Sure. And so it's like a thing that requires consistent, vigilance.
I don't say this to minimize that at all, but it makes me think of all the fucking weeds in my garden and how like you do so much work to kind of get a clear level and then within days they're back and you just have to stick with it, or else it just overruns things. It can. You recently posted, I don't know how this ties into your project, but you're working on something and you've been posting a lot of poetry, and you recently posted One Art by Elizabeth Bishop, which is also a poem that I love and have a lot of feelings about.
The greatest poem, perhaps, in the English language.
Yeah. Can you talk about what that... let me just read the first stanza, and then I'd love to hear what this means to you.
You should read the whole poem if you can.
Okay.
I mean, one, it's not very long, and two, it's maybe the greatest poem written in the English language. So.
I haven't practiced reading this, so speaking of failure, here we go. The art of losing isn't hard to master. So many things seem filled with the intent to be lost that their loss is no disaster. Lose something every day. Accept the fluster of lost door keys, the hour badly spent. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Then practice losing farther, losing faster, places and names and where it was you meant to travel. None of these things will bring disaster. I lost my mother's watch, and look, my last or next to last of 3 loved houses went. The art of losing isn't hard to master. I lost 2 cities, lovely ones, and vaster, some realms I owned, 2 rivers, a continent. I miss them, but it wasn't a disaster. Even losing you, the joking voice, a gesture I love, I shan't have lied. It's evident the art of losing's not too hard to master, though it may look like, write it, like disaster.
Wrecks me.
So good.
So good. And she has Elizabeth Bishop, born in Worcester, Massachusetts, died in Boston, Massachusetts. She has this like quintessential New England, like wryness in her poetry. This sort of like, it's not like reserve, but it's almost, right? Like she's almost being funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And also, right, like that she uses such a structured form. I think it's a villanelle. And like, I'll just say, like, I am not a poetry expert. I am not a poetry person, even though I am distantly related to famous poet Emily Dickinson. She did not pass down a profound understanding of poetry to me. But I think, what was the question that you asked me about?
What does that poem mean to you? What does it say to you about life, about losing, about failure, about anything?
Part of what resonates so much to me about that poem is much of my early life, like Elizabeth Bishop's, was defined by loss of family members and loved ones, and gave me a real, like, the existential crisis I think so many people have, like, later in life when they realize, like, life is fragile. I had as like quite a young child. But death is a thing that exists, and how does it happen? And which probably is also why I decided to go into such an irresponsible profession as I did, because I very early on recognized like the fleeting and fragile nature of life. But I think also that sense of loss, both of losing objects, people, places, experiences from your life, is such a, I would say, like, probably because it for me couples with this self-esteem issues, that this notion of being, worthy of the folks around you, and sort of waiting for them to disappear, like your keys or grandma's watch. Like talking about that Apple TV show, I think when you hear somebody so beautifully, better than you could ever hope to explain it, capture a feeling, like a deep sense of something you've experienced so artfully. I mean, I think that's what we all hope to do as artists.
Right. How do you feel about a speed round?
Ready.
Nice.
Good. Let's do it.
Tell me.
I'm not great at speed.
Okay.
As you may have noticed from this podcast, I think a lot, take big pauses, speak slowly. But I'm going to work on it. That's going to be...
Speed is relative.
That's another thing I could have said before. What's a thing that I can't get? Doing stuff fast.
Tell me about the earliest time in your life that you feel like you blew it big time.
I mean, again, so many. The one that just came immediately to mind was when I learned what theft was. I was at Children's Hospital with my mother. I was like 2, probably. And this is a like, I remember this. Yeah. And we were in the hospital gift shop. And I asked my mom if I could have a Tootsie Roll, if I could have some candy. And she said no. And I then kind of like looked around and was like, I think I can just take this. Yeah. And so I took it. And then when we got outside the store, I was like, look, Mom, I was just able to take it. Yeah. And my mom was horrified and outraged. And I should say, right, like we were at Children's Hospital because my sister was born with a lot of birth defects. It was a very stressful time for my mother. So like, did she handle that moment with the grace and aplomb that she maybe would have liked to? No, but like, let's all cut her some slack. She had recently almost bled to death at that moment. So like, you know, other stuff going on. But I so fundamentally didn't understand that what I had done was wrong, right? That I very immediately like look, you can just take things from the store.
Probably a little proud of it.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Did you know about this?
Yeah.
And so my mom, horrified, outraged, marched me back into the store and made me give it back and apologize to the person. And I was devastated. And, you know, it was very clear that I had done something deeply wrong. And like, not just like wrong, like it's not like, oh, I made a mistake, like I did something bad, but like I had wounded Children's Hospital. Listeners, if you remember Tootsie Rolls, and if you can think of the size of a hand of a 2-year-old, we're talking a piece of candy that at its most probably has ever cost a nickel, right? I remember the face of the person being like, it's okay. All right. That's probably my earliest.
Wow. Yeah. That's intense.
It's intense. Yeah. It's
Tootsie Rolls worth it though, right?
1,000%. I mean, now I have too many fillings to like my jaw, you know, age, right?
Yeah.
Which is a privilege. It is a privilege to age, but gosh, it makes things like eating Tootsie Rolls hard.
Yeah. What class did you fail or come close to failing in school?
Again.
Grade school, college, pick
so many. My college didn't have grades. I picked that purposely. I did very poorly in freshman English. I did very poorly in math and science, but specifically math, almost all of the maths. And so in high school, I figured out that I didn't actually have to take math and science beyond my sophomore year to graduate. And so all the other fools were like, what do you mean? And they kept taking it. And I was like, did you all read the course catalog? Suckers.
Once again, like text analysis.
Understanding
that I don't need to keep doing this.
Yes. Oh, everyone takes chemistry their junior year? Cool. Do I have to, though? No. So, I'm not gonna.
Yeah. That's kind of brilliant.
Thank you.
I took all that stuff all the way through.
I hated high school so much that I looked very seriously into dropping out and taking the GED.
Yeah.
And if I had not gotten involved in theater my sophomore year of high school, that is likely the path I would have gone on.
What's your funniest failure?
I mean, like, almost anything I've ever tried to cook or clean, like, goes comically bad. Yeah, like, really. But again, that's like categorical. Like, it's there's not like a single instance where I can. Yeah.
What that makes me think of, I was a junior and this now woman would have been a sophomore, and I asked her out and thought it would be really special if she's an Italian American, actually grew up in Rhode Island before she moved to Texas, and I thought it would be really impressive if I cooked her spaghetti, thinking that what I did with my sauce was incredibly special. And what I did with my sauce, Nora, was take the can of ragu, put a little pepper in there.
Whoa.
So I cooked this, served it before her as though it was like the coolest thing someone could do. And as she was eating it, as she was like watching me plate it and put it out and then eating it, I was like, I've done something that's not nearly as cool as I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very slow revelation of I have really messed something up. I'm not sure what it is yet, but I got to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to take some time and try and unpack this later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best lesson you've ever learned from failure?
I don't know, all that smart stuff I said before about defining success for yourself and okay, here's one. So I like to dance in part because I'm not great at it, and but I find it really joyful, and that it is sometimes like hard for me. Right, there's sometimes like such a cost, or there can feel like there can be such a cost for failure. If I'm not good at this, right? Like there's going to be whatever. And so that can feed like frustration and make a thing not fun. And part of what I've really leaned into as a person who has never been super comfortable in their body is when I do a physical thing and it is hard, I laugh. So when I do Pilates and I do a thing that is hard, I laugh. It's why I don't do yoga, because they are not cool with you laughing in yoga. It's like too serious and breathing. But in Pilates, they don't mind. And in a dance class, they don't mind. It helps me like not take myself so seriously, and also just like finding the joy of not being good at something and that being okay.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Thanks.
I love that. I do that very well in certain pockets of my life.
Yes.
And I don't do it very well in many other pockets of my life. But I want to... we started off with getting kind of a baseline of where failure hits you. Like, what does that mean to you? I'm curious to end with success. When you hear that word, what does that mean to you, and what does it look like for you?
I guess I don't know, like punching that mean voice in the nose.
Yeah.
Feeling joy and some peace and calm that I helped put some good into the world. Part of why I like teaching so much is you see immediately, very clearly, repeatedly, when you see someone who's like, oh, like this person believes in me. This person thinks I'm capable. Yeah. This person thinks I have something to contribute. Like you just see a person light up in this way that is so life affirming. Yeah. And even if these students never go on to do any more theater, having that just I did that thing that I didn't think I could do.
Right.
Is huge. And selfishly makes me feel real nice.
I've tried to think of a clever way to bring these to an end, and I have failed to do so, but...
The benefit of the theme of your podcast is you get to fail all the time and just say it's part of the brand.
Yeah, it's part of the brand.
Yeah.
But one kind of recurring theme that has established itself is music. Uh-huh. And so I'm curious, is there music that you like to listen to when you're struggling with something that helps you get out of it? Let's say you're struggling with that voice and you need to punch it in the nose. What is the music that you listen to?
When I want to get out of my own way, or kind of shut that voice down, it's music that I can dance to, and I tend to gravitate towards either music that is older or music that sounds older.
Older, 80s, 60s?
Yeah, 30s to 50s. There's so many, but I think I really like Louis Prima. he, like, talk about a guy who has a sense of humor about himself,
Yeah.
but, and like so many of his songs actually are, now that I think about it, like about failure. There's this one song called Banana Split for My Baby. And he describes in detail this elaborate banana split that he is ordering for his girlfriend. But it's a banana split for my baby and a glass of plain water for me. And at the end, he reveals that they're going to split the check and she's going to pay for the sundae and he's going to pay for the water because he doesn't have any money. Yeah. He is somebody who writes, like when you listen to the lyrics of his songs, they're quite a downer, but he's very funny about things that are, you know, not. And I appreciate that.
That's awesome. What's that song called?
Banana Split.
Banana Split.
For my baby.
I'm going to look this up right now.
Yeah. But really the whole, you know, prima oeuvre, if you will.
I will.
Is really delightful, right? Just a Gigolo. Life Goes On Without Me. He wrote a song for his mom. It's about the waitress at the pizzeria. He just sits in the restaurant and keeps eating food so that he can hang out with this waitress.
Yeah. Oh.
It's the most Italian song.
Yeah. So good.
So good.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah. Thank you for coming all the way down.
What a delight.
Yeah.
How will you ever do these just remotely again?
I don't know.
You can't.
I can't.
This is too good.
Yeah.
See? Failure begets, right? The Beckett thing. Fail again, fail better.
Yeah.
We failed better.
Yeah. FlawedCast is created, hosted, edited, and produced by me, John J. King. Thanks for failing with me. Is that okay?